Hello everybody, welcome back. Today what we're going to do is we're going to set up captive portal on an OPNsense firewall. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and restored all the defaults. So I'm back at the factory defaults for all my settings. So the first thing we need to do is we need to configure our interface in order to get started. So right now we just have a LAN and a WAN. So I'm going to go to assignments and notice how I have HN2 here. I'm going to add another interface, and right now it says opt1, which is fine. I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to click on opt1 here. I'm going to enable the interface. Under description, I'm going to call this guest net. Okay. We're going to do a static IPv4. And we're going to give it an address of 192.168. If I'm on numlock on 192.168.2.1. And we're going to save. And we're going to apply changes. So now we have our guestnet interface and it's all set up. We have everything where we need it to be. Next, we need to configure a DHCP server so that our clients, when they get on our guest network, can get a DHCP address. So we're going to go to Services, DHCP, Server, and notice how guestnet is selected here. We're going to enable the DHCP server on this interface. We're going to give it a range 2.100, and then I'm going to do .200. Not going to configure any of these other settings. I'm just going to do a basic setup here. I'm going to save. So now my DHCP server will hand out some addresses on the guestnet interface, which is what we need to move forward. So the next thing we need to do is we need to configure firewall rules. So I'm going to go into Firewall and then Rules. I'm going to select my guestnet. So I'm going to select my guestnet, and the first rule I'm going to add is going to be to allow DNS. So it's going to be a pass rule. Interface is going to be guestnet. Protocol is going to be TCP/UDP. Source is going to be guestnet net. Okay, destination is going to be a guestnet address. And the destination port range is going to be DNS. Okay. Category, we're going to call this guestnet basic rules. Okay. And under description, we're going to say allow DNS. Okay, and we're going to click Save. So we have that done. Next, we need to allow the captive portal login. So I'm going to copy this rule. I'm going to say TCP this time. Okay. And I'm going to keep everything else the same, except I'm going to go up here to Other, and I'm going to say 8,000 to 10,000. Okay. Guestnet basic rules. This time it's going to be allow captive portal login. And we're going to save that. Next, we're going to do some blocking. We're going to block access to the LAN because we don't want anything on our guest network to be able to access anything on our LAN. So we're going to specifically or explicitly block that using this rule. So we're going to block. GuestNet is the interface. Protocol is going to be any. Source is going to be GuestNet net. Destination is going to be LAN net. Okay. And then everything else is going to be same here except for our category and description. Category is going to be our GuestNet basic rules. And our description is going to be block local networks. And we're going to go ahead and click save. We're going to add another block because we don't want to allow anything on the guest network to actually access the firewall. So we're going to explicitly block that. So I'm going to add another rule here. I'm going to actually copy this one. So it's going to be block, GuestNet, protocol any, source GuestNet net, destination. Instead of it being the LAN net, it's going to be a GuestNet address. Okay. GuestNet basic rules. This time it's going to be block firewall access. Okay. And we're going to save that. And the last rule that we need to add is to allow the GuestNet. Otherwise, it won't be able to access anything. So we're going to add this rule. This is going to be a pass rule. And it's going to be, the source is going to be the GuestNet net. Interface is going to be GuestNet. Protocol is going to be any. Source is going to be the GuestNet net. Destination is going to be any. Port's going to be any. Gateway is going to be any. Category, again, we're going to do GuestNet basic rules. And this one is going to be allow guest network. Okay. So this is how your rule set should look. Now, this is assuming you don't have any other rules in place for your guest network, or your guest network hasn't already been set up. But this is how it should look. So go ahead and pause here if you need to. I'm going to go ahead and apply the changes now that I've created all my rules. Okay, changes have been applied. Next, we're going to move on to the next step in the process here. The next step in the process is going to be to set up or create the captive portal. So we're going to go to Services, Captive Portal, Administration, and we're going to create a captive portal. Okay. For right now, we need to take LAN out of there, and we need to put GuestNet in there. Local database, we're going to come back to this later. We're going to take that out of there for now. Enforce local group, we're not going to do anything there. Idle timeout and hard timeout is going to be 0. Concurrent user logins, we're going to uncheck that. No SSL certificate. Host name is blank. Allowed addresses is blank. Custom template, we're going to come back to this, but right now it's none. And under description, we're going to say guest network. And we're going to save our changes. So now we have a captive portal set up, and we're going to click apply. The next thing we need to do is we need to create a template. Now, HTML editing and stuff like that is going to be outside of the scope of this video. What I've done and what I'll put link to down in the description is a template that I created for use in this video, and it's for Tech 411, and you can use that for testing purposes. It's going to be a OneDrive link. I'll put that down in the description. For now, I'm going to go ahead and upload that. But if you want to, first let me show you this. If you want to download the default, you can hit this download button. This will download the default template. Notice I have my template there already. We can extract the default template, and we can see what we have in here. Obviously, like, we have some images in there, and we have an index HTML file and so on. But like I said, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to load my pre-created Tech 411 template. So I'm going to call this Tech 411 with pop-up, and you'll see what the pop-up is a little bit later in the video. We're going to choose our file. Tech 411 template pop-up. This is a zip file. We're going to upload. We're going to apply. Okay. Next, we're going to do a little bandwidth limitation. Okay, folks, so I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. I don't want to make this a super long video for all of you. What I'm going to do here is limit some bandwidth. I'm going to limit everything on my guest network to 10 meg down and 1 meg up. Okay, so what I've done is I've created 2 pipes. One pipe for downloads. One pipe for uploads. Then I've gone over and I've created 2 rules. The first rule is for downloads. You do have to toggle advanced mode and select interface 2 as the guest net. So make note of that. You want advanced mode on. The second rule obviously is my upload rule. So that's my bandwidth limitation. You can play around with that and do whatever you want with that. Next, we're going to use the voucher system with our captive portal. So next we're going to need to add a voucher server. Okay. I've already gone ahead and done some of these steps so that I can speed this video up a little bit. So we're going to go to System, Access, Servers, and by default, the only thing that's there is local database. I've added a voucher server in here. I chose to use simple passwords, and I chose 8 characters for the length of the password and username. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, go back. The next thing we need to do is actually create the vouchers. So we're going to go back to Services, back to Captive Portal, Vouchers. Now I've already generated these, but you're going to say create vouchers. What I did is I said 1 day for validity. I chose 25 vouchers, and I gave it a name of Wi-Fi Day Pass, and I hit generate. Once you hit generate, this is going to populate. It's going to download a CSV file. The CSV file is here, and these are all my vouchers. Now, what you can do if you want to be really cool about it is you can put something on company letterhead, and you can actually when you give this out to somebody, you can actually copy and paste in the username and password for the voucher, and probably be a good idea to have an acceptable use agreement and so on. And you can hand this out to them, and they go to their machine and they put the voucher in, and they're golden. Okay. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to go back to administration on the captive portal, and we need to edit. We need to authenticate using our voucher server that we created. Remember, we left this blank. And we also need to choose our custom template in here and hit save. Okay, I've already done that to speed up the video. So next, we're going to go over to the machine that's on our guest network, and we're going to see what all these settings have done and how they work. So I'll catch up with you in just a second. Okay, so we're on our guest network machine here. I'm going to open up Internet Explorer, and we're going to try to get out to the internet. Okay, and here's my customized page. We can see the Tech 411 logo, and it says, "Welcome to Tech 411 Guest Network. Usage of the guest network indicates acceptance of the terms of use agreement. Violation of this agreement will result in termination," I misspelled that. It's supposed to be "of your access without notice. See our website for more details," and if they click here, it'll take them to our website. But they'll have to sign in first. So this is where we're going to enter the voucher, the username and password for the voucher. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm not going to make you sit through that. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in and then fast forward and to the point where I'm ready to sign in. Okay, so I'm ready to go ahead and sign in at this point. So I've got my username and my password for my voucher. I'm going to sign in. Okay, and notice it takes me to Google. And notice it actually pops up this session pop-up, and it says your access time remaining is 1 day, 11 hours, and 59 minutes. Now, why it says 11 hours and 59 minutes, it's actually a day and a half, I'm not sure, because I selected 1 day. But in any event, this is what the user is going to see. They're going to have that window up. If they minimize, it's going to tell them how long they've got left on the guest network. And it really is that simple, folks. So let's sum up what we've done. We've configured our GuestNet interface. We've configured the DHCP server on our GuestNet interface. We've added appropriate firewall rules to allow the guest network to do what it needs to do. We've created the captive portal. We've created and uploaded a template for the captive portal login pages, and as you saw the pop-up there. We've set a bandwidth limit for the guest network of 10 meg down and 1 meg up. We set up a voucher server, and we created 25 vouchers, which were generated and put into a CSV file. Then we went back in and edited our captive portal, and we put in the template, and we set the voucher server as the authentication method. And then we tested on our test machine. So again, I'm going to link in the description to my example template with the pop-up there, because the one that you download when you download it from the web interface does not have the pop-up. It's just going to be a login page. So if you want the pop-up, you have to download the example that I created. I'm going to go in and correct my misspelling before I put that down in the description. But that really is all there is to it, folks. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps other YouTubers find quality content, and we really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out our Patreon link in the description and support us on there if you can. We greatly appreciate that. Click the subscribe button and click the bell to get notified whenever we add new content. And as always, comments, questions, and suggestions are welcome below, and we thank you very much for watching.